Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes with the Waltons, where I'm going to be taking more of your questions in a segment of Ask Judy. If you're enjoying these, please do hit like and subscribe. I have a question here from Peace Shepherding. Couple questions. Does your current review of the episodes ever cause melancholy? If so, how do you adjust to this, given that you're dedicated here to regularly diving in to knit these, the past and the present, together? Gosh, I mean, I would say not regularly that happens. Certain moments will hit me, as you've probably seen. Sometimes I get a little emotional about certain pieces of a segment, certain scenes, things it'll bring up. Now, whether it is something that it brought up from the time we filmed it or something that moves me now at this point in my life, like in the graduation, when John Boy graduated and he talked so much about the sacrifice and what the parents had to go through to allow their children to go to school and to be there for them. I don't think that particularly meant anything to me at the time we filmed it, but now as a parent, I was much more moved from the perspective of a parent. And sometimes just, seeing some of the early episodes and how much fun we had and just remembering all of that. And then people that we've lost. Yeah, there's moments of nostalgia and it can be very bittersweet. And I can miss the joy of a lot of that. But I feel like it's important for all of us to always be moving forward and looking ahead, that we can't live really in the past or the future. So we really have to live now. So I try to appreciate the best of everything that's happened and all the experience that gives me, but also know that there's still a lot of future ahead and that it is up to me to create that future and that joy in my life currently and for the future. Second question, has the experience of your channel added any new perspective for you other than realizing some details you hadn't recalled? Gosh, yeah. I mean, one thing, yes, I definitely notice how much I don't remember. I look at whole episodes and think, really? I don't remember any of this. Even things that my character was very engaged in. So that's always a little surprising. But also I can sit at times and just enjoy it as an audience, because many scenes I was not there during the filming of, if I wasn't in the scene. And locations that I never went to. So I can sit and watch an episode and just be an audience sometimes, even though I know where we shot it and what was around the corner and that there were camera and lights. I can still just suspend belief for that moment and watch it as an audience and really just appreciate how wonderful the show is as an audience. The stories we told, how amazing it is, how timeless they all are, and that 50 years later, they still seem so relevant. So more and more, I think I just appreciate how wonderful the show is. So thank you for asking. This question from Swampzoid. Is there or was there a misconception about the Waltons you'd hear often that you always had to or wanted to correct? There's probably ones that I'm forgetting, but I think more recently something I've been aware of people asking or thinking is that all of the stories were actually based on true incidents in Earl's life. The majority of them were actually fiction. Now, of course, it was based on his family. He did grow up in Virginia. He did have, well, actually in real life, 8 brothers and sisters. I don't think his grandparents actually lived with them. I think they lived really close by. So certain characters, I think, I would sometimes hear Earl say like that the Baldwin sisters were based on a mother and daughter that he remembered from his youth. But every character that came on the mountain, no. Every incident that went on, no. I mean, a lot of it was fictionalized, but fictionalized around a family that really did get along, loved each other. They did say goodnight through the walls at night. So that's the part that was very genuine. And I know Earl, by the time we were doing the series, which was a number of years after he experienced all of this for real, he looked back on it much in the way that I'm looking back at the series now, where I remember mostly the good things. You know, sometimes something will flash on me. I go, oh yeah, I remember that. You know, I'll remember things that went on that weren't as positive for me. And I choose not to share a lot of stuff because, you know, those are things that don't matter. And I think for Earl, it was similar in the crafting of the show, that he had sort of rose-colored glasses about his mother and his family and his childhood and all of that. And as is wonderful to know that he looked back on it with such lovely memories and nostalgia. And that's kind of how I feel looking back at the series now, that there was far more good, and that far outweighed anything that, you know, I could nitpick about. So that's probably the main thing I'd say that there's misconceptions about. Another piece of that probably misconception is that the house was real. I have sort of spoiled that for people who thought that or wanted to think that, but yes, that the exterior of the house was just an exterior. There was no interior to it there, and that we shot all of the interiors on a soundstage that we didn't really shoot in Virginia. And so things like that, I think. But I don't know that those are even misconceptions that are important. So if I've spoiled things for you, I'm sorry. Question here from Jim. On set, filming a scene, how many on average, other than actors, are there? A lot. You know, there's probably, by the camera alone, there's probably 3 or 4 people, plus the director, and then you've got your lighting people and your grip people but they aren't all necessarily standing right there when you're filming, but there's probably a good 20 people around crew that need to be there, probably more. And then you've got the people that come and go, like transportation or wardrobe or property people, or, you know, set decorators, art directors, things like that. So a lot of people. When actors act in a scene, who says stop or cut? That will either be, it's usually the director. Sometimes the assistant director in certain cases will not so much call cut, but sometimes usually does the quiet on the set, cameras rolling, sound rolling. The director usually says both action and cut. So that's the standard. Do actors have any say in what they just acted in before the word cut or wrap? They can talk with the director about their take on a scene or their character. So they have some input, but usually it's the director's final say, and they can't just randomly change the lines. If they have a question about the dialogue, that needs to come up and be taken up with, say, Earl Hamner or the story editor. Even the director doesn't necessarily have the authority to say, yeah, you can just change lines. So pretty much, you know your character, and you have to work within the boundaries of what has been created for that episode, for that storyline. Then, is theater different from TV? Yes. Yeah, because you're not filming anything, so you don't have all of that equipment around. When you are rehearsing and doing things like that, it's pretty much just the director. If it's a musical, the music director, the choreographer. Even the technical people aren't particularly around during rehearsals. When you get to the final sort of run-throughs and stuff before the audience comes in, then you will have your technical people there to set lights and stuff, but that doesn't always happen when the actors are there. So the director has a lot more authority with the theater, and sometimes things can be changed more in theater, but it depends who wrote it. Again, if it's a written script, you're not changing it. So, but yes, very different in the way that they are put together, because theater, everything's rehearsed before it ever goes in front of an audience. Television, you're shooting live every day. And then, hoping the highest business has appeared on Pets. Okay, then there was just some stuff about you having caught me on Password Plus. I always love hearing that. Those were such fun for me to do. So thanks for your questions, Jim. Thanks for joining me for this segment of Ask Judy. I'll be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.